Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us, God. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll? Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Gidge. Alderman Harriet Gathright. Alderman Dowd. Alderman Clee. Here. Alderman Laws. Here. Alderman Lopez. Here. Alderman Karen. Here. Alderwoman Kelly. Here. Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderwoman Malizzi-Gola.
Present.
Alderman Tenza.
Present.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
We have 12 members present.
Also in attendance is Corporation Counsel Stephen A. Bolton. Recognition period.
There is none.
Reading minutes of previous meetings and public hearings. There being no objection, I'll declare the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meetings of January 22nd and the public hearing conducted by the Human Affairs Committee on February 11, 2019, accepted, placed on file, and the reading suspended. Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
Communication from Larry D. Goodhue, Chief Executive Office, relative to a request for approval of loan from the New Hampshire Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund to Pennachuck Waterworks.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communication, place it on file, and refer it to the Pennachuck Water Special Committee. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. We have one person signed up, Andrew Olding. You can come up to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Hello, as stated, my name is Andrew Olding. I live at 8 Royal Crest Drive in the southern part of Nashville. And I signed up to speak on this 019-037. Excuse me, sir. Michael, what did you do? Online, okay. Yeah, the raising of the age for possession of tobacco products and e-cigarettes from 18 to 21. I think we all know Keene recently just did this, and it's not been very popular with the people I've talked to in Keene. We just listened in the upstairs during the State of the City address about the desire to have more young people move to Nashua. Well, if you treat young people between the ages of 18 and 21 like they're children, they're not going to want to move to Nashua. And then the other part of this is the possession thing, where it's illegal to possess. So if you're buy cigarettes in Manchester, drive to Lowell, you get pulled over in Nashua for something completely unrelated, that's illegal. And I think that might be an oversight. But, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Communications requiring final approval.
Communication from Mayor Jim Donchins relative to the purchase of Formax FD 2002 Auto Seal Pressure Sealer.
Alderman O'Brien, sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and authorize the expenditure of SERF funds for the purchase of the Formax FD 2002 Auto Seal Pressure Sealer.
The motion is to accept, place on file, and authorize the expenditure of SERF funds for the purchase of the Formax FD 2002 Auto Seal Pressure Sealer. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Petitions.
Petition for a resubmittal of petition for street acceptance for portion of Pine and Central Streets.
There being no objection, I'll accept the petition, refer it to the Committee on Infrastructure, and schedule a public hearing for Wednesday, March 27th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. Nominations, appointments, and elections.
To the Honorable Board of Aldermen, I have this day appointed Sherry Dutsey of 18 Swart Terrace, Nashua, to the Conservation Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2021. I have this day appointed Sandra Pratt, 24 Gingers Drive, Nashua, to the Cultural Connections Committee for a term to expire March 1, 2022. I have this day appointed David Grabowski of 172 Main Street, Nashua, to the Downtown Improvement Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2019. I have this day appointed Mary Lou Blaisdell, 32 Webster Street, Nashua, to the Downtown Improvement Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. I have this day appointed Richard Lannon, 7D Taggart Drive, Nashua, to the Downtown Improvement Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. I have this day appointed Lisa Hardy, 7 Burt Street, Nashua, to the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee for a term to expire March 1, 2022. And I have this day appointed Nicholas Serpa, 9 Jostin Place, Merrimack, to the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2019. And respectfully request these appointments be confirmed.
There being no objection, I will accept the appointments by the mayor as read and refer them to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee. Reports of committees. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the February 6, 2019 Finance Committee accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the February 11, 2019 Human Affairs Committee accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the January 23, 2019 Committee on Infrastructure accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the February 4, 2019 Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee accepted and placed on file. Confirmation of mayor's appointments.
Cultural Connections Committee.
There being no objection, I will confirm the appointment of Jean Addy of 2 Elaine Drive, Nashua, to the Cultural Connections Committee, for a term to expire December 31st, 2021. Is Jean Addy here this evening? She will be sworn in at a later date.
Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee.
There being no objection, I will confirm the appointment of Richard Gillespie, 15 Spencer Drive, Nashua, to the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2021. Is Mr. Gillespie here? He will be sworn in at a later date.
Nashua Arts Commission.
There being no objection, I will confirm the appointment of the following individuals to the Nashua Arts Commission. Attorney William H. Berry III, 161 Kinsley Street, Nashua, and Sarah Caesar, 3 Pine Street, Nashua, for terms to expire April 1st, 2019. Paul LaFlamme of 28 Lutheran Drive, Nashua, for a term to expire April 1st, 2020. And Jennifer Latouche, 7-2 Hickory Lane, Hollis, for a term to expire February 1st, 2021. Are any of those individuals here this evening? Come forward and take the oath of office.
Face me and raise your right hands, please. Do each of you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Nashua Arts Commission, according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the Constitution and rules of the agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God. Congratulations.
Confirmation of President of the Board of Aldermen's appointments.
Hunt Legacy Trustees.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the appointment of the following individuals to the Hunt Legacy Trustees. Arthur Olson, 169 Coburn Woods, Nashua, for a term to expire December 31st, 2019, and Mary Green, 38 Concord Street, Nashua, for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Are either of these individuals here this evening? They will be sworn in at a later date.
Ira F. Harris Lecture Trustees.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the appointment of Jane Hanley Olson, 169 Coburn Woods, Nashua, to the Ira F. Harris Lecture Trustees for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Is Jane here this evening? She will be sworn in at a later date. Unfinished business resolutions.
Second reading of Resolution 18-098, authorizing the sale of tax-deeded property located at 38.5 West Hollis Street to Manchester Housing Services, Inc., doing business as NeighborWorks, Southern New Hampshire.
Alderwoman Malizia Golia.
Yes, I would move for final passage of R 18098.
Motion before us is to recommend final passage of Resolution 18098. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Second reading of Resolution 19-105, relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $25,000 from JSI Research and Training Institute into Public Health and Community Services Grant Activity FY19 Environmental Health Tracking.
Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for final passage of R19-105.
Motion before us is for final passage of Resolution 19-105. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Unfinished business ordinances.
Second reading of Ordinance 18-025, amending vendor license ordinances.
Alderman Lopez.
I'd like to make a motion for indefinite postponement of 018-025.
Motion before us is for indefinite postponement of Ordinance 18-025. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Second reading of Ordinance 18-032, authorizing stop signs in right and left turns only lanes at the intersection of Pine Hill Road and Sharon Avenue.
Alderman Schmidt.
I'd like to move for final passage of Ordinance 18-032 and speak to my motion.
You may.
Thank you. Everyone has in front of them a map of the intersection that we're talking about. There's been a lot of discussion in Ward 1 about this because Pine Hill Road has changed a lot in the last 5 years or so. A lot more traffic is on it. And because of the changes made to Sharon Avenue, Amherst Street, and Broad Street Parkway, the people aren't local as often on this street as had been in the past. Because Sharon had added a right turn only coming onto Pine Hill. That has helped a great deal. Thank you very much, DPW, for that. But the left-hand turn that's been created is very difficult for people. There's a house on the corner of Sharon and Pine Hill that blocks view. And DPW actually had a study. They had someone sit there and watch traffic for a while. And they found out that really what has to happen is the traffic going west on Pine Hill really does need to stop so that there's better control of traffic there. So to meet the requests of folks that live on and near that street, I ask that we put a three-way stop there. Thank you.
The motion before us is for final passage of Ordinance 18032. Further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries.
Second reading of Ordinance 18-034, designating parking on Chestnut Street for fire department employees.
Alderwoman Malizia Golia.
Yes, I would move for final passage of O 18034.
Motion is for final passage of Ordinance 18034. Discussion on that motion?
Yeah, just.
Alderwoman Malizia Golia.
Thank you. Just to remind people that in our budget for this year, the last quarter, we will be adding additional staff at that location. So this is to meet the parking needs for those additional staff members. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is for final passage of Ordinance 18034. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. New business resolutions.
First reading, Resolution 19-107, relative to the supplemental appropriation of $50,250 of unanticipated revenue from Fund Number 1000, General Fund, Account Number 43295, Revenue from Federal Grant, into Fund Number 7074, School Special Education Expendable Trust Fund.
Given its first reading, I will assign that to the Budget Review Committee.
Additional sponsors?
Oh, I'm sorry. Additional sponsors, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Tenza, Alderwoman Melisi Goya, Alderman Karen, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Laws, Alderman Clay, Alderman Gathright, and Alderman O'Brien. Oh, sorry, given its first reading, I will send that to the Budget Review Committee.
First reading of Resolution 19-108 relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $15,573 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Species Program and authorizing the transfer of matching funds.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Tenza, Alderwoman Melisi Goya, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Karen, Alderman Laws, Alderman Clay, Alderman Harriet Gathright, Alderman O'Brien. We'll assign that to the Human Affairs Committee.
First reading of Resolution 19-109, authorizing Pennachuck Corporation and Pennachuck Waterworks, Inc. to borrow funds from the State of New Hampshire Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Tenza, Alderwoman Melissa Goya, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Klee, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright, and Alderman O'Brien. I will refer that to the Pennachuck Water Special Committee.
First reading of Resolution 19-110, authorizing the City of Nashua to enter into a lease agreement with Make It Labs Corp. For 25 Crown Street.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Tenza, Alderwoman Melissa Goya, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Karen, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Laws, Alderman Klee, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright, Alderman O'Brien, and myself. Given its first reading, I will assign that to the Finance Committee.
First reading of Resolution 19-111, relative to the acceptance and appropriation of an additional $138,937.92 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services into Transit Grant Activity Federal Transit Authority, FTA, Operating Grant.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Tenza, Alderwoman Melissa Goya, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Karen, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Laws, Alderman Klee, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright, Alderman O'Brien, and myself. Given its first reading, I will assign that to the Human Affairs Committee. New business ordinances.
First reading of Ordinance 19-036, designating an additional section of Bauer Street one-way easterly.
Additional sponsors, Alderwoman Melissa Goya, Alderwoman Kelly, Alderman Klee. Given its first reading, I will assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of Ordinance 19-037, raising the age to purchase, use, and possess tobacco products and e-cigarettes from 18 to 21.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Lopez. Given its first reading, I will assign that to the Personnel and Administrative Affairs Committee.
First reading of Ordinance 19-038, amending the sign ordinances relative to address numbers of ground signs.
There being no objection, I'll accept the first reading of Ordinance 18038, assign it to the Planning and Economic Development Committee and the Nashua City Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing for March 19, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. I didn't ask for additional sponsors, did I? We can still do that, right? Additional sponsors. Alderman Lopez. Thank you. Period for general public comment. No one has signed up. I did see someone come in. Come on up. Give your name and address at the microphone when you get up there, please. Right here in the front. No, we need the microphone.
It won't go into the record without the microphone.
Oh, there's no microphone. Sorry. Now give your name and address in the microphone, please. Now that you have one.
Is it on?
Yes.
It is on, okay. I can't hear myself. I'm John Scher, I'm the my address is 242 Brattle Trail Road, Needham, Massachusetts. I'm the executive director of the New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association. Thank you for taking the time to hear me. I'll be brief because I know that this the Tobacco 21 bill was just referred to committee. But first, let me thank President Wilshire for the communication this morning so that a lot more people didn't show up when they really didn't need to. But I do want to take this opportunity because it's my experience that by the time this does come back to the board, the general board, a vote is often taken quickly, and so there's very little time for consideration. So I said, hey, I'll take the drive up, and I'll give you guys my pitch, and you'll have opportunity to consider it as the committee is considering the same. So as you likely know, Senate Bill 248 is currently at the State House right now, being debated as to whether or not the state should raise the legal age to purchase tobacco products from 18 to 21. My association chose to not take a position on that bill, largely because while we think that there should be a nationwide age, if the age is going to be increased, we believe that if not nationwide, that it's acceptable for a state to adopt one age. What we cannot be silent on is if when cities and towns decide to do it on their own, as it creates what we refer to as a patchwork of regulations, which from a retailer's perspective is an absolute nightmare, particularly for those members of mine that have stores throughout the state, especially in regions, or rather cities and towns that border one another. Likewise, for adults that live in a community, they can go to one community or another where the ages are different. The problem with a city or a town doing it on their own is it really doesn't impact what it is that you're trying to impact, which is to reduce use among minors. It's not a big deal to go to a neighboring community, but so in terms of meaningfully reducing the access, it's really not doing that. But what you can count on it doing is it exporting sales, both for those products that you're raising the age on, but also what we refer to in retail as the market basket. So not just a pack of cigarettes or an e-cigarette pen, but instead all of those other products that would also be bought along with that during those visits. So while it isn't going to meaningfully do anything to reduce the access for those underage, what it will do is it will harm those businesses that are complying within Nashua. And speaking of complying, there is a 98% compliance rate in this city, which is remarkable. This information is available on the FDA Compliance Inspection Report. You can check it out for not just your city, but any city for that matter, and I would argue that 98% is exemplary. So instead, really what we should be doing is congratulating retailers for a job well done. If this is about deciding whether or not an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, or a 20-year-old is an adult, I'm not your guy. I can't speak to that. Everybody, I'm sure, has an opinion on that. But if this is about trying to keep these products out of the hands of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds because you believe that they're reselling them, say, to 17, 16, and 15-year-olds, then I would argue that doing this is not the right approach. So I hate it when people say no, 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 and don't come in with suggestions. So here are some suggestions for you as an alternative to consider that won't harm retailers. The first is many of my members are participate in the Weed Card program. These are training programs. Not every retailer does participate in Weed Card programs. I wish I had the ability to mandate every retailer participate in these programs, but they're not all members of my association, which is my problem. I will figure that out, but that certainly should be a requirement. There are wonderful training programs. I did it myself. It takes a long time. It's worthwhile. The second thing that some of my members do that I would argue is, I think, a best practice, which is to limit the number of I know this is really mostly about e-cigarettes, so limit the number of e-cigarettes. So limit the number of any tobacco product that any one person can buy at a visit. So if it's 2 units or 3 units, whatever it is, that's not a redistribution. That's somebody probably using it for their own personal consumption. When somebody goes in and buys 5, 6, or 7, that's a wholesale business, right? And so finally, the other thing I would suggest is have a lower tolerance policy, less tolerance for mistakes. Somebody's going to make a mistake and somebody's going to sell to a minor, or if you catch somebody reselling to a minor, come down hard. It will have an impact. These are all things that you can do that will have an impact and that won't hurt the retailers that are doing a wonderful job in your community and contributing in a number of ways. Happy to take any questions, but thank you to all of those of you that read my letter from February 11th, and it's a lot of the same information, but I did want to come here and speak to you personally.
As you know, we'll be taking that up in the committee on March 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
You bet. Remarks by members of the Board of Aldermen. I'll start on this side. Alderman Schmidt? No? Anyone on this side? Alderwoman Malizi Golia?
A reminder that Empty Bowls is tomorrow evening.
Always a good event. Anyone else on that side? Alderman Lopez?
I'd like to clarify, the bowls are not empty. You can fill them with soup.
Anyone else? Okay. Committee announcements. No meetings? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned at 8:15.